Rescue 1, I'm on scene. I'll be assuming Caroline Street Command. I got a 2.5-story wood occupied multiple dwelling. I got heavy fire from the second floor, Charlie side. I have an exposure on the Delta side. We have one line stretch not in operation yet. Primary searches are underway. Status of the fire is doubtful. 1, passing command. I'm on the first line. Service speed advised. We're on scene. 2-story wood frame. I got heavy fire from the Alpha side.
Welcome back, fans of the Volley Chief. I'm going to call you my co-host. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I think at this point you've earned the part-time co-host. You're like the guy in the television show that your name is now appearing in the beginning credits. I've got, Michael Witek back with me again. And this is a very unique episode because thus far I have planned out most of my episodes, and we're actually responding to viewer requests now. Last week's episode, I had Mike on. We talked about water rescue with the summer coming up and the summer season beginning in a lot of parts of the country now with the unofficial start of summer on Memorial Day. But we also mentioned a couple times that we were working on this rope upgrade, and we got a few emails from viewers about what the rope upgrade was and how it went and what we did with it. So I said to Mike, you know what? Let's give the people what they want, and let's talk about the rope upgrade that we just did for the Storm Ambulance Corps. And again, for those of you who have been longtime listeners, oddities of the city of Derby, the Ambulance Corps, the Storm Ambulance Corps, which Mike and I belong to, is responsible for the technical rescue in the city. So rope rescue falls under the Ambulance Corps, hence the reason why we're talking about it through the Ambulance Corps. So if we keep saying the Ambulance Corps, the Storms, that's the, I guess, the asterisk they have to put on this whole thing. But Mike, tell us a little bit about your rope background, just because you suddenly went from my water rescue guru to my rope guru.
I guess it's an average background. Always been interested in ropes, from the days that we had the fire school, Valley Fire Chiefs Fire School down on O'Sullivan's Island, and rappelling out of the ladder tower with, it used to be just, 3-strand nylon, and then, gold line was the cat's ass. If you didn't have gold line, you didn't have anything. And we were doing that with a Pompier bill, and we just kind of progressed, with Len. Len was very into our rope program, and we're always trying to get better at it and see what kind of equipment was out there. We were good for a while, but technology has changed so much. So I kind of jumped into some classes, and I guess some people will call it the window washer class, but I took the Sprat level 1, and I will say that the Sprat level 1 was good. It augments fire department rescue. There's a lot of things you'll learn in there that you can mirror or use in fire department rescue, and some things that are useless in fire department rescue. You probably never use them, but it's a good skill set to have. And then lead climber and advanced rigging, and I also inspect water towers. So climbing up 92-foot tanks, 200-foot tanks, and so on, and doing some top work on there. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that one of the beauties of the volunteer fire service is the diversity of background of your members. Mike is in industry, and his industry requires him to be, on rope, confined space, trench, and it falls into hazmat. And, as we mentioned when we had you on back in the fall or December for the River Restaurant explosion, that background is one of the biggest strengths in the volunteer fire department, is that you have the variety. And Mike is, besides, again, everyone knows him around here for water rescue, but his prowess on ropes, second to none. So, as Mike mentioned, just to give you a little bit of background, our rope guy was Lenart and Captain Witek, who was a longtime member of the Storms, back into the mid-'70s, even right before you, I believe, right?
Yes. Yep.
And Len handled our ropes. And, for my generation of guys, Len is part of that group that I talked about in one of my first episodes, that they showed us, no pun intended, but they showed us the ropes, and got us very interested in the fire service. So Len was our rope guy, and he handled all the rope equipment on the rescue truck. But sadly, in the fall of 2019, Len passed away very suddenly, and it's one of those that we still haven't gotten over, and I think that's what led us to where we were with ropes and where we evolved to was because of that. I think for a little while anyone was afraid to do anything because it was kind of what Len did, and without Len being here, it kind of left a gap in our.
He's still hitting us with some knowledge.
He still hit us with knowledge. This is always thing. He's buddy boy, and let me hit you with some knowledge.
Yeah.
And so Mike and I started looking at a lot of our rope equipment and realized some of it was coming near to the end of its service life. Some of it was a little bit past its service life, and we realized that it was time for us to start looking into an upgrade, looking into a change. We were still using 1/2-inch rope. We were using the latest and greatest NPDs, which were the last time we really purchased rope equipment now was again 5-6 years ago, and we decided to sit down and start making a change.
Yeah, and when you said about the latest and greatest, but it's amazing from the IDs to the MPDs, the how rapidly technology has advanced and how many products are out there that are so useful for our needs in the fire and rescue service.
Yeah, I mean, even when I first joined, the standard rope layout was, I mean, you wore your blue and gold harness over your gear, and actually over jeans back then. You wore your blue and gold harness with your jeans and your 3/4 boots, and you did 3 wraps. And then from there we went to the figure 8s, then we went to the bars, and then the MPDs, the IDs, and then now where we are. But we sat down and the problem was we've accumulated, right? The rope stuff was one of those compartments we just accumulated stuff in. And we had so much equipment. It was one of those, like, right, you open the doors and you had to be careful that the load didn't shift because you'd die in an avalanche. Oh, I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not. And so much of the equipment, back then I'll be honest with you, we made a lot of stuff. We had the T-bar, Len pioneered a lot of new things, and Butchie got involved with that stuff. And we just had to take it out of service.
Right. I mean,
it was time.
Yeah, and it's the other thing is now too is there's such regulation of it. I mean, right? We have the obviously the manufacturer regulations on the 10-year service life on a lot of the life safety rope.
And we live in such a litigious society that you have to protect yourself.
Right. And so the first pieces of equipment we looked at were our harnesses, right? At the time, where we started taking this look we started I would say right around, like, it was before the first of the year. So
yeah,
correct. Yeah. So we started like in the fall. In the first phase we did was we looked at our harnesses, and we had rocket rescue harnesses, and there's nothing wrong with the vendor, like nothing wrong with the company. I mean, we were using Rock and Rescue. We'd had Rock and Rescue for a while. That was the harnesses we were using. Now, our local rope vendor who we're buying the rope from, like always, trends come, different things. We switched over to Petzl. And our first purchase was we purchased 6 new Petzl harnesses. That was kind of what kicked off this rope, project that we undertook. And we were lucky enough because I should rephrase that. I don't know how to say this, but right, you know what I'm trying to struggle with right now? I don't want to say we were lucky enough because we got donations, because the donations came, we had several.
We're fortunate.
Right. Like I said, we're very fortunate that we had.
Some people still like us.
Right. I don't know how to say, because I don't want to say we had several prominent families in town leave us donations in memory of their loved ones, and it's very fortunate that we have that relationship with the community. That over the years and time of helping those in need, and over the years of serving our citizens, when people pass away, the families make a nice a lot of times leave donations to the ambulance corps, to the firehouse, and we were fortunate enough that we had a couple like family members of members leave us that donation. And with that, we were able to purchase the harnesses. And as we know in the volunteer world and even in the career world, money is what it is nowadays.
So it is a good time. If by any chance, anyone who, you know, any of the donators are listening, this is a good time to say how much we appreciate all that, because if it wasn't for them, you know, it would be hard for us to stay on the leading edge of technology and equipment, and it's not doesn't go unnoticed, and every member appreciates it and benefits from it, and so do the citizens that we serve.
And see, that's what I was struggling to say. So thank you for bailing me out on that one.
No worries. I got you.
Yeah, I know. So we did, right? We purchased 6 Petzl harnesses, and you know, we toyed a little bit with different options, different features, but you know, we settled with I just want to make sure I have the right harness when I say it.
I think we got some of the Aveo bods.
Correct. We
Yeah.
got some of the Aveos, and we did the Aveo bods, the Petzl ones, and we've enjoyed them. You know, we've had them now, you know, we've had them for about 6 months on the apparatus. So those were the first thing was we went through the personal harnesses.
But don't forget to mention that, you know, we had to have a plan in place. Like we didn't just want to swap one piece out and the next. So the replacement was very strategic.
Yeah. So again, we went with the harnesses first, and you know, some of the things that on the back end that people don't realize, when the harnesses come in, they have to be inventoried. We have to you know, take the serial numbers down. We've created logbooks for the harnesses so that they could be inspected monthly, and they could be, you know, tracked if we had a problem with one. We actually, you know, the Aveo, some of the Petzls were subject to a recall with the chest crawl. And
So there's an inspection notice, yeah.
correct. Yeah, there was an inspection notice. We did that. So that was our first phase, was replacing and I shouldn't just say harnesses, because I would say personal protective equipment, because we purchased along with the harnesses, we purchased new helmets and right. So would you say more personal protective equipment would be the best way to describe it?
Yeah. Yep. And hardware. Yep.
Yeah. So those were all purchased, and we did you know, our Thursday night drill. We did a familiarization. We did a you know, a refamiliarization program, the class, to get them going, and then from there we moved on to the bigger ticket items, which actually, I mean, realistically, it's multiple small ticket items, but we decided that we were going to switch to 11 mil rope. Obviously, most of the fire service now is switched to 11 mil rope, and our plan was we were going to go with the twin tension systems. So, you know, CMC clutches, new pulleys, the Pro Swivel pulleys, some ASAPs,
yeah, I'll tell you, the clutches and the pulleys alone were a game changer.
Yes, you know, and that was a major shift in kind of how we did things, especially getting away from the MPD. You know, I'm looking over the purchase order right now. The other thing that we did was we purchased the CMC, we call them fast packs, and I always call them fast packs, but they're the CMC equipment bags, the Rig Tech packs. And what we did was we purchased 2. We purchased a red and a blue one. And the reason behind purchasing the 2 separate colors is we also we came up with a system for the ropes, and that was we would put our preset Z rig, our first in, if you will, ropes, all in blue bags. And the thought process behind that is, you know, now if we have a rope rescue, when it comes time to get the rope out of the apparatus, you can tell someone to just bring all the blue bags, right? There's 6 blue bags, bring all the blue bags, you know, you have all the equipment. The red and the blue bag are mirrored. The only exception between the 2 bags is that the red bag has steel carabiners and the blue bag has aluminum carabiners, and the red bag has 1 clutch where the blue bag has 2 clutches. But other than that, the bags are set up completely identical. They have the same amount of equipment, the same amount of pulleys, same amount of carabiners, same amount of everything.
And the red bag's more of a backup or supplement bag.
Right. And we did that again. We did that for simplicity. You know, now if you get, and let's be honest, right? Not everybody's a rope guy. You have some instances sometimes where you have people helping you, but at least you know you need 6 blue bags between the rope, and the rope equipment to get it going. But looking on the list, right, Pidge, we switched to the CMC tie-in system. We got the 2 bags. We bought a lot of rope. I mean, what did we buy? 1,800 feet of rope.
Yeah, but it does. I mean, when you think about it, that doesn't go
Right,
fast.
it's not a lot of
Especially when
rope.
you're
I mean,
replacing your entire stock.
correct. Rigging plates, carabiners, swivels. The clutches were obviously bigger. Pencil rescue senders.
Anchors.
Yep, rope anchor straps, prussics. A lot of different equipment like that. And again, it was a large purchase that we were able to pull off thanks to some timely donations, and it definitely got it to us. And the thing was too, the equipment came in. I'm not a fan of leaving equipment sitting around waiting to be used. I like to get it on the apparatus as fast as you can, but
This is
you've got
definitely a case of all or nothing.
correct. We knew that it was going to have to be a hard line of switching the equipment over. So we wanted to wait till everything came in, and more importantly, we wanted to make sure that we had solid training down.
Yeah.
The final piece, if you will, of the whole puzzle was we were lucky enough to get another timely donation, and we were able to actually get a Arizona Vortex, which we did not have in our cash, so we were able to order a Vortex. So that was kind of the final large piece,
Which is an amazing piece of equipment.
I mean, absolutely. In with all of the equipment now in, and it was about, I mean, probably the beginning of the May when everything came in. Prior to that, we use a company called Safety Consulting Group. They're out of Long Island. Great group of guys. We just had Ray Griffin and his team come up, and
Shout out to Ray and Brian and those
yeah,
guys.
Ray, Brian, they were great. They do our technical training, and it's funny because
Ray, if you're listening, give your kid your credit card number, okay?
yeah, really. I mean, he called enough for money. It was, but we got them through my brother, introduced us to those guys. I mean, God, what did we figure? It's been almost 15 years they've been coming up to do trench, to do rope, to do hazmat for us.
Yeah, those guys are squared away.
Yeah, they're a great asset. And we had a pre-meeting with them. So they were coming up for 2 days to do 2 days of rope. And what we did was we actually came up with the basics of what we could do prior to them delivering the main body of training. So we actually sent out a little I write like a little welcome manual to the members of what the training was going to consist of, and we set requirements. You had to know your figure eights, your bowling, you had to know your what other knots were on there, your butterfly,
Yeah, clovage, all your basic firefighting knots.
right? Your basic
and then
knots,
a few additional.
correct?
Your water knot, things like that.
And we required, myself, Mike, Butchie, my brother, Ryan helped us out with a couple guys. We actually required them to perform the knots prior to the class, right? We actually took a bucket of rope, cut up the rope into lengths, put the 3-ring binder with step-by-step instructions, and put it on the apparatus floor right out on the table. And it was kind of funny because you know how things are in volunteer firehouse, right? You ask guys to do some training, you ask guys to set things up, and you got to force them to do it. But a couple times I went down there and walk in the firehouse, and to see 4 or 5 of the younger guys sitting around, fooling around with the rope, trying to tie the knots, and it was actually nice to see them.
I got to tell you, as an older guy, that was so encouraging to see so many guys buying in on that, and girls. When I say guys, I mean all inclusive. So
Right.
Don't be calling me out on that.
Yeah, I won't, but especially because the girl was,
Yeah, she was the best of the group.
right? Elena was the best one. That's what makes it funnier. But, they had a pre-test, if you will, and with that we went down and we did some, we went over some basics with them. We had multiple times, so we set up 4 different times over the course of 2.5 weeks where the members can come down. We had one of the instructors there. They did their knots in front of one of the instructors, and then Ray and his team from Safety Consulting, they came down and did the class. And we spent, like, I hate to say Pidge to go full circle in your life, but we went back down to the fire school and again, some of the lucky things about the city of Derby is that we have a lot of different facilities that we have at our use, and we were able to actually we use the underneath side of the Route 8 bridge. So Route 8 is the state highway that runs through Derby, and it's elevated bridge. I mean, how high is the bridge off of the fire school? How high do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, 30 feet, 28 feet, something like that. It varies. It starts off a little shorter than that, and then gets
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean,
as you get closer to the water, it gets taller. But the thing
Yeah.
is, that's realistic too, because it's not wouldn't be out of the realm to think that we would have a rescue off of that.
Right, and we had we have a catwalk that gets us to the bottom or to we have catwalks that we can access and stuff, so we're able to use that. And we did multiple scenarios, and again, Ray and his guys, they're tremendous. They it's not their first rodeo. They just set up a great couple stations, and it was just rotations of raising, lowering, being the person lowered to give you experience on the rope and on trusting your equipment. And we did the twin tension clutch system with lowering, then we did it with some raising, and then
And one of the big takeaways from that was the watching, the person, stepping over the railing, shaking like a leaf, and then by the time they hit the ground, they actually developed a trust in their equipment, which is so important. Know your equipment, trust it, and trust the people that are operating it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and and then the final station of the day was we did a low angle rescue. So you're using the Vortex, and the Vortex is just such it's a versatile tool now. I mean, it's a tripod, it's a bipod, it's a monopod, it's any kind of pod you want it to be. But I mean, that alone, there are days classes just dedicated to the Vortex, and it was a good chance for everyone to get to use the equipment, using the Aztecs to tend, using the Aztecs to be the attendant, and the new CMC, the tie-in system, which is incredibly simple. I mean, it's not like, full disclosure, we're not getting any promotional money here by mentioning anybody or
Wish
any
we
names.
were.
Right. I mean, you wish we were, but we just, these are practical systems that we found that work for us. And that's what, as I mentioned before with the command boards, that's what you got to do. We made the decision that we were going to stick with the 11 mil rope with twin tension clutches, and that's going to be our go-to. And that's what we trained everyone on. And it just, I think it went well. And then once, the training was complete, we did the switchover. And now the 11 mil ropes with the new bags, we're short a couple of blue bags. I had to order some new ones. But so the blue bag theory is technically right now it's 4 blue bags and 2 orange bags, but those are on their way in. The other thing we picked up was we realized we needed a couple small pieces of equipment, getting one of the squids, the CMC squids, to help with the mining of the 2
Yeah, but
clutches.
those are small ticket items that
Absolutely.
go from it's good, better, best. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
absolutely. And
it's a better.
yeah, and I just, it wasn't a massive project. Right, the hardest part of this whole project was inventorying all the equipment, because like we mentioned, when all this equipment comes in, it has to be inventoried, it has to be inspected, you have to create, we created a 3-ring binder of inspection sheets, and to perform all those inspections.
Well, thank you for Katie too for all the times and trying to read it out to her. So
Right, I mean,
thanks for your patience.
Yeah, like we had to sit there one night and take each piece of equipment out, take the paperwork out, take the tags out, take the serial numbers, jot them all down. And that's very important for us as administrators, as chiefs and as officers, is to have that capability of having
Have to
all
have
of
an
that.
equipment log. Yes.
Yeah, of all that logs. And again, I think that's, as you mentioned, that's a giant liability that a department could face if they just simply get equipment in. You got, like, we could have easily gotten half the rope stuff in and just put it on the truck. But then what happens when there's a call and you're using half 11 mil, half inch,
Right.
you've got different, that's where the holes in the Swiss cheese start lining up, and you have a problem.
Right, and then you have that conscious decision. Do I want the red clutch versus the gray clutch? Is everyone going to remember, what size rope the red one takes versus what size rope the gray one takes, and so on. So, like you said, you have to make that conscious decision and stick with it.
Right. And again, I think it was very successful. We got a lot of very positive feedback on the training aspect of it. Like we mentioned, right? We were extremely proud of the younger guys because a lot of them,
They want more, which I was blown away with. I mean,
right? Like,
yeah, I don't know how to handle this, to be honest.
right. It's usually the other way, right? Usually you're begging them to go out and do
You still
training.
can't get the garbage taken out, but that's okay.
Right, right. But yeah, that was it. I mean, you know, uh, I have a full equipment list. If anyone's interested, obviously shoot me an email, thevolleychief@gmail.com, and I'll send you the equipment list of what we purchased. It went very well.
Don't be
know,
afraid to do it.
right.
Don't hesitate. It seems like a lot when you start, but then, if you have buy-in from your membership and so on, and have somebody come in, have a third party come in and give you the training. No one wants to listen to one of your own members spiel about it. So have a third party come in. There's some street credit there, and they're going to listen, and you're going to learn a ton. And just after that class, like 2 people reached out and said, "Hey, what about this class? What about that class?" So again, I'm blown away by that. I'm encouraged. I honestly don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, it's a first for us,
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Right. It's been a while since we had that. And yeah, I mean that was the success of and again, it also took 7 months to do, and luckily I had you with your knowledge of, in the Sprat world, and then obviously I have, what I know from work of what we use and the systems that we use, and being able to sit down and put those two together and come up with a list of equipment, and type it all out, and go through the process of getting funding approved. And I mean, because we did, right? We had to go back, at one point we had to go back to the membership and realize that we didn't buy, we needed another clutch. So we had to go back to the membership and ask to increase the amount of money that we could spend to buy another clutch.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, those are the things that get in the way of every organization. You have to be, fiscally responsible. But you just be patient and one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, and again, it worked out very well. We were able to complete it in 7 months and make the changeover. And it drove me nuts for a while to sit there and look at all the equipment. And what made it worse was we actually had a couple of rope calls, and like we had the new equipment sitting in the closet, if you will, but it was like nobody's trained on it. The clutches, there's a few of us that know how to use them ahead of time. It's just, it's the right thing to do to wait to everyone has, the right piece of equipment with the right training and the right setup, and then put it on the apparatus.
And for anyone listening, don't be afraid. A lot of you volleys have guys that went to the career side, and you guys that did go to the career side on the saddles of your volley experience, give a little bit back. Okay, I know you're on the job, you do it all day, and last thing you want to do is do it for free, but don't forget where you came from. These younger guys coming up, that think of where you got your start. These younger guys coming up are looking for the same mentorship. So come on back and share a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I enjoy doing. I know there's I mean, we got Tommy there the other night. That was good.
Yeah. And
and
he didn't even get a concussion.
Yeah, which we could do an episode on Tommy's concussions. It'll mirror something rivaling like the NFL.
I need therapy after.
So that was our rope upgrade. And again, if anybody has questions, you want the list of equipment, shoot me an email, thevolleychief.com. I'm sorry, thevolleychief@gmail.com, or fire me a message on social media. And I'm gonna thank my co-host, Mike. You're now you're
Yeah.
I don't know what to call you now at this point. You're like the part-time co-host.
Yeah.
So
next session is gonna be on bourbon.
Yeah, we're gonna do our bourbon night one night.
Yeah,
we're gonna
some special guests,
Yeah, we'll get some. We'll have a bourbon night.
Might need a little post editing, but whatever.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Help me feed the machine. Anybody wants to be on the show, I'm always looking for guests. So again, fire me an email. I know that I have a couple guys who've reached out to me. I'm going to be scheduling another session soon for my whirlwind sessions. And a couple announcements. Don't forget, we have the Ambulance Driver 5K Road Race, sponsored by Bad Sons Brewery. It's going to be July 10th at 7 p.m. at the Bad Sons Brewery on Roosevelt Drive in Derby. $45 to benefit the Storm Ambulance Corps. And then finally, we have Hops and Halligan, November 13th, once again at the Bad Son Brewery. They've been a great friend to us during this 75th anniversary season that we've been celebrating. And that's Jeremy Dench from National Fire Radio is going to be there to give his spiel. You're going to get a warm up with a special guest co-host of mine before Jeremy speaks. So if you want a chance to throw tomatoes, that would probably be it. And that's it, everyone.
People appreciate that.
I'll put a shield up,
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that's gonna be a good time. Good time to hang out with your brothers and sisters. But I mean, and a lot of good camaraderie.
Yeah, and again, we've gone to the events before, and they've always been a good time. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night. And Paige, thank you again.
My pleasure. Have a good night.
FD1's back in service. Commands terminated.